All right, in this video, I'm going over lifetime value and why that's important, or LTV, right? So when you're running paid ads, you have a certain cost to acquire a new customer, right? Or CAC, right? And let's just use the dental example. Let's say you're a dentist and it costs you $100 to acquire a new patient booking, right? And let's say you charge $200 for your first booking. Now, you think that's a 2x ROI. It's a good ad, right? But you could be wrong because that doesn't factor for labor costs, right? Most dental owners are paying their staff a 40 to 50% commission. So automatically that's gone. And that's assuming as well that the dentist working under the owner isn't covering money for the ads, right? So if that's the case, then you just break even. Looks like a shit campaign, right? But that's not even including any variable cost, which can do with let's say a dental clean, right? All the tools, all the equipment, all the water, electricity, and it doesn't even include all the overheads like fixed cost, accountants, rent, all this stuff. So I have a lot of dental owners coming to me saying, hey, my campaigns suck. I have a cost per conversion or cost per acquisition of $100, right? And I'm charging $200. So it looks good, but factoring all the other costs, I'm losing money, right? And we need to go a layer deep into that because the whole point of marketing isn't to make a profit straight away and make the most amount of profit and acquire, $200 patients for $5. Because if that were the case, I'd quit my marketing company and shut it down and start up a dental practice, right? The reason why marketing works is because of repeat bookings and just bring new patients in the door because of repeat bookings, but also the referrals, the word of mouth. You can get a review from them, that you can upsell them to other services and all that stuff, right? So you really need to look at your numbers and figure out what is your average order value or average first patient booking revenue, right? Let's say it's $200. And then you want to know, do you have any certain upsell rates and what the average value of those are? So for dentists, you can upsell them to braces, Invisalign, veneers, dentures, whatever it is, dental implants. And you need to know the percentage of new patients who upsell to those other services, right? So that's the first part. The second part is the repeat bookings. So if you run a reoccurring business, right? I'm not saying recurring, I'm saying reoccurring, meaning it's not a one-time thing that they come back, but it's not a recurring subscription model paying for Netflix. If you run a reoccurring business, you need to understand what your repeat booking rate is and what the time frame and payback period is as well, right? So for a dental clinic, if someone comes in for a dental checkup and clean, then usually you want your teeth cleaned every 6 months, right? You're gross if you do anything less than that. So if your booking price for a checkup and clean is $200 and you have a patient for 10 years, all of a sudden that LTV, lifetime value of that patient becomes, what is that? 200 times 2 per year. So it's $400 per year times 10. So that's $4,000 in 10 years, right? And I'm using a long time period. Let's just say 3 years. So in 3 years, that patient is worth $1,200. Now, going back to what I said before, if you acquire a patient for $100 and you're getting $1,200 back, now it seems worth it, right? Now we're getting 12x ROI, of course, not including variable cost or fixed cost. But you can see why marketing makes sense and it's a long-term play, and why it's not good to have a short-term mindset with marketing when you have a reoccurring business, which is most service-based businesses, right? And that's not even factoring any of the upsells, right? Because most people might need teeth whitening quarterly, which is like $300 a quarter. All of a sudden, that $400 a year ends up becoming an extra $1,200 a year. So that's, what's that? $1,800 a year if you add teeth whitening quarterly, right? And if they want dentures or veneers, those are worth tens of thousands of dollars. Probably a one-time thing, but you get the point, right? And then, if they do get dentures, then they may need them replaced once in a while. So you can see how just getting a patient in the door to your business allows them to spend as much money with you as possible, assuming that you do good service and stuff. And why marketing makes sense because of the lifetime value. right? Other caveat with that is you need to work out the payback period. So it's a lot easier for businesses with lots of money to play with to spend on marketing and take an L, like as in go in the negatives and lose money for a couple months. But there'll be a certain period where you break even from the marketing, right? If you're able to track the repeat bookings, the upsells, and the referrals that come from those initial patients who wouldn't have otherwise seen you for marketing, you need to figure out what that payback period is so that you can have a certain run rate of negative and maybe have some cash reserves to play with, so that when it is time to do some marketing, you can account for that, right? So let's say if we're aiming for a cost per acquisition of $100 for a general checkup and clean, I have to pay commission 50% to my dentist, and let's say there's another $50 per clean for variable cost. So essentially, if I do that math correctly, $100, so I get $200 revenue from the first booking. 50% of that goes straight away to to my practitioner, right? And then $100 is marketing cost. So I've broken even, right? But then let's say variable cost is an extra $50. So I'm down $50. And this doesn't even include any fixed costs, right? For this example, I'll just exclude that. But it looks like we're losing money, right? $50 a month. Sorry, $50 a patient. So when we work that out, we need to have X number of patients per month and spend that per month. And we only get those other bookings 6 months later down the line. And again, I'm not even including upsells or referrals just for the sake of this math equation, but you can see how for 6 months, it looks like you're gonna lose a lot of money, right? You might be down thousands of dollars. But as these people keep rebooking, as these people keep upselling to other services, as these people refer their mates and family, once you usually get a teenager, you will get all the rest of the siblings. Then all of a sudden in 6 months time, that person, that $200 booking for the next checkup and clean, we don't don't account for the $100 cost for marketing, right? So instead, we're profiting $50, right? Because 50% goes towards the practitioner, and $50 is variable cost, right? But you can see how it's profiting. And then in 3 years' time, you would have made so much money where that $100 cost to acquire them in the first place was like the highest expected value play of all time, right? So moral of the story is you need to understand what your customer lifetime value is. You need to understand, average order value or first booking revenue, and what that payback period looks like through the repeat booking rate to figure out what you need to spend or how long you're going to be in the red for before you get in the green. And the issue is a lot of people don't have money to play with, which is fair enough. Like they don't have cash reserves to do this. But if you don't start doing this, and acquiring a customer at 1/10 of their lifetime value is super duper duper achievable for any business. The sooner that you delay this, then the later that you will get that patient booking in with you multiple times and giving you referrals and upselling to other services. So it's super important that you understand this for marketing. And in my opinion, like the cost of not doing marketing, given that you have a good lifetime value, is much greater than the cost of marketing itself, even given the fact that you might take an L in the short term. So that is my rant on lifetime value. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.